Hey guys, welcome back. And if you can see, got a fresh haircut. So fully out of quarantine now. Things have opened up. Got to go to my first sit-down restaurant, my first bar, haircut, tanning salon. Oh, it was glorious. Anyways, what I want to talk about today is reliable exotic cars. And I was having a little trouble of how to think of doing this because it would be easy just to say, "Oh, Lamborghini and Porsche, done, end of video." But that's like 30, 40 seconds, so it wouldn't really work. So the way I decided to do it is, got together with some friends or whatnot, and went over just some different models and reasons why certain ones are maybe a little bit better than some of their other counterparts. And just kind of went from there. So obviously, some of the things I'm going to mention is, I don't know. I just always want to put this out. This is not the end all be all. I'm sure there's plenty of guys who have certain cars who have had problems with them, or certain aspects I may mention of why one model is better than another. They say, well, that it was never a problem for me. I'm sure that's happened out there. I just go off of the overall outlook and just data that's available out there, just on forums and things like that. So, also, I'm sure you can have seen, or maybe didn't even notice, I used a picture of Jason's Aventador in both the unreliable and the reliable. Reason for that being is I didn't want something where I was talking about the unreliable side, and all of a sudden, they're like, well, I don't want you using that picture of my car, that random picture that I found on the internet. So we just used one that knew that we had the had the rights to. Anyways, so let's get to it. The first car that I would like to speak about is the Lamborghini Gallardo. So that's one that I actually have been looking at, and before the Rona was thinking about actually purchasing as well. So I have looked into some of the stuff in it, and overall it's a great platform, very reliable. A couple things though is, if you're going to look at an 04 through 08, stick with the manual 6-speed. The single clutch E-gear in those years is a little wonky, so to speak. So overall, still a great car, but if you do have the option, get a manual in those ones. And if you do want the E-gear, maybe look at the 2009 and newer LPs. So they still were the single clutch, but they were a little bit more reliable in that sense. So those ones that I was looking at an 09 to 013 LP 560. So that's kind of what I found in those ones. The second one I want to talk about is the 99 or greater Ferrari 360. Now, I know that I brought up in the last one some common issues with them, so I want to stress again that it isn't that it's like a bad car, it just has some little bit of wonky issues, but overall, it's a pretty reliable car. As long as you get the 6-speed. If any of you have actually looked at these cars online, you can find an F1 gear 360 for about 60 grand. Whereas if you are looking at one that is a 6-speed, it's still going to be in the 90 range. But just the track record of the 6-speeds has just been a lot better. So it's a very, very solid platform. Not a ton of maintenance issues besides the ones I mentioned in the last video. And even those ones aren't too crazy as far as overall cost of owning a car. So the third car I want to speak about is the Audi R8, which is obviously very similar to the Lamborghini Gallardo, built on the relatively same platform. The ones that I'm going to talk about though, because they're all again the same sort of things apply to the the R8s as they do on the Gallardos, but it's the 2013 and newer that they actually got the DCT before the Lambo did. I don't know really the reason why they did that, but for whatever reason, like that car is actually it's a better car. So if you have the means, I would look into that one with the DCT. But overall, yeah, great platform. No real big complaints about it, beyond like the regular small stuff. So another great one. So the fifth car that I'm going to speak about is the Porsche 996 Turbo. So it kind of depends on how you consider that car, if you do consider it an exotic, because at this point it's kind of old, and you can get one now for about 50 grand. But it's a great platform, fairly reliable. And the reason why I mentioned the 996 Turbo is that generation kind of gets a lot of hate from the Porsche guys. I'm not sure why. I actually really like the way it looks. The interior, whatever, but it's built very soundly. And the reason why I'm bringing this car up is it does not have the IMS bearing issue that seemed to plague that generation. I don't know. I guess I'm not a Porsche guy. I don't know why that is. But one of the things when I was looking at my Z06, I was also looking at 996 turbos. And it just I was amazed that that I hadn't known that before, that it did not have that bearing issue. So I've obviously talked about bearing issues in a couple of my other former videos. So you know how I like to bring up bearing issues. The 996 Turbo doesn't have one, and yeah. So that's really about it for me, guys. I appreciate it, and hopefully see you next time. And now that all the states are kind of opening up, we'll all be able to get back out there and start playing with our cars more with our friends.